It was shortly after a routine ultrasound that Amanda had gone in for an appointment just to follow up with the doctor to discuss what they had found on the ultrasound. And just as unassuming as anything else, we figured it would be just another routine appointment. And the doctor had informed her that there was a large tumor in the baby's abdomen, and they weren't really sure what it was, and they weren't really sure what was going to happen, but there was a lot to be concerned about and a lot of information that we still needed. And she called me because I was at work shortly after that, and that's how the both of us found out.
The doctor, said we're gonna do everything we can, but it doesn't look good. There is the option to terminate the pregnancy, and I said absolutely not immediately. He said it's gonna be a long, hard road, but with faith you can get through it. After we found out that Lincoln had a tumor, we got people together. There was about 10 people that came over to the house to have a prayer circle. And as soon as they walked into the home, as soon as they walked into our home, there was an immediate warmth. Like, it felt lighter and not as dark and as scary as it was within minutes of everyone arriving. We sat in a circle in the living room and started to read scriptures and started to pray together. Everyone put their hands over me and on my belly, and I felt a warmth throughout my body that I've never felt before. I was crying uncontrollably, but it was happy tears. At about 30 weeks, 10 weeks in, we got the news that it had doubled in size. And I remember getting that news and calling Bill and questioning, if we're putting all this faith in God and we're trusting Him with our whole heart, why is it growing? Why isn't it shrinking? Why isn't it getting better? Really feeling like I was at a loss, because I did feel like I was giving everything to Him. I was living for Him, and I felt like he was telling us He was gonna do this, and that wasn't happening. And that's when I remember, Bill saying, "You're not trusting because you're questioning, and if you're questioning it, then you're not believing." And every time I started to question it, Bill would get me right back on track.
When we found out that the tumor had doubled in size, I still felt confident that God had a plan, and I felt confident in trusting in it. By that point, as I said, every time I had reached out to God, every time I had spoken to God or prayed and said, just please take all my doubt, take all my fear, He was right there taking it away. So at that point in time, I knew that God had a plan, and I was going to trust in it no matter what.
2 weeks before Lincoln was born, I went in for an ultrasound, and which we were doing every week. And at that time, the doctor, while looking for the tumor to do measurements, he says, "Amanda, I can't find it. It's shrunk so much, I cannot even get measurements on ultrasound." And I was so elated that tears were flowing from my eyes. I couldn't help the happy tears coming out of my face. And Lila sat next to me holding my hand, and she's giddy, so happy, she's giggling. And the doctor says to Lila, that you have the most amazing surgeon in the universe working on Lincoln right now. And she says, "Yeah, I sure do, it's God." And that was a pretty powerful moment.
At the time that she had gone into the ultrasound, where the doctor had let us know that the tumor had shrunk to a size where he couldn't actually measure it, I wasn't there, but Amanda called me right afterwards, and I just remember just being so happy, just being so overwhelmed, and her and I together just praising God. And saying, we trusted and we put our faith in God, and look what God has done.
I had about 24 weeks. As I was praying, there was something God was trying to tell me, you need to tell this story. You need to tell this story. So I came up with the idea to put a Facebook page together called Lincoln's Journey. And on this Facebook page, we have been telling his story every week since we found out. And in that, within a week, we had 100 followers, and now we have well over 200. Prayer requests come in from people that we don't know. I've heard people's testimony that his story has brought them back to church, that his story has renewed their faith. One of my closest friends from childhood, her relationship with God had become very strained, and this brought her back to God. Watching Lincoln get saved brought her back to God. This is why we went through this. To save people. Pretty amazing. And here's our miracle baby.
Lincoln Everett Taylor, wonderfully and fearfully made, May 28th of this year, 2013. He's about 3.5 months old right now. Living, breathing testament of the power of God and the miracle that God does. We're still not out of the woods, so we ask that you continue to keep him in prayer, as we do have surgery upcoming within the next couple of months. And we pray, and we know that God will be with us through this situation, as he has been this whole time.